I want to tell you something about the book of Ruth that most people who have read it their whole life have actually missed. Ruth was a Moabite woman, and in first century Israel, Moabites were not well liked. Deuteronomy 23:3 literally said no Moabite was to enter the assembly of the Lord, not just foreign, specifically excluded. She had no land, no inheritance rights, no husband, no children, no legal standing in Israel at all. She had followed her mother-in-law Naomi back to a country that was not hers, to a people that had reasons not to accept her, and Naomi herself told Ruth to go back to her own people, twice. Ruth said, "Where you go, I will go, where you die, I will die," and she meant it. So she arrived in Bethlehem with nothing except loyalty, and she did the only thing available to her. She went to glean in the fields. Under Jewish law, landowners were required to leave the edges of their fields, unharvested the corners, the fallen grain, so that the poor and the foreigners could gather food. It was the ancient world's version of a social safety net. She wasn't invited into the field, she was picking up what people dropped. And then a man named Boaz noticed her. Now here's the legal detail that most people skip over, and it changes everything about this story. In ancient Israel there was a legal role called the Goel, the kinsman redeemer. A close male relative who had both the right and the responsibility to step in for a family member in crisis, to buy back land that was lost, to marry a widow and continue the family name, to protect those who had no protection. There was a man in Bethlehem who was closer in relation to Naomi than Boaz. He had first rights as Goel. He had the legal right to redeem Naomi's land. And when Boaz approached him at the city gate, this man said, "I'll take the land, great deal, I'll redeem it." And then Boaz said, "But if you take the land, you also take Ruth, the Moabite widow. You have to marry her and carry on the family name of the dead." And the man said, "I can't. It would endanger my own estate. Someone else can have the right." His name is never recorded in the book of Ruth, not once. The text calls him in Hebrew Peloni Almoni, so-and-so, Mr. Nobody. The man who could have been the Redeemer and chose not to be history forgot his name on purpose. And Boaz redeemed her. A Moabite woman, specifically excluded by law from the assembly of God, widow, foreigner, no rights, no land, no future. And the son she and Boaz had was named Obed. Obed was the father of Jesse. Jesse was the father of David. David was the ancestor of Jesus. Ruth, the woman who should have been invisible, who had no legal claim on anything in Israel, who was picking up grain that other people dropped, is in the genealogy of Jesus Christ. And the man who chose her when he didn't have to, whose name is recorded, is in the same genealogy. The man who could have ignored her legally and didn't, is in the story of salvation. That is not an accident. The God who designed the Goel system was telling a story about himself. Because there was a moment in history when humanity had no land, no rights, no standing, nothing to offer, and the one who had every legal right to walk past didn't. He redeemed us when he didn't have to, not because of what we brought, because of what he is.